Find a comfortable position now, whether you're lying down or curled up somewhere warm. Let your body settle into the surface beneath you and allow your eyes to gently close. Take a slow breath in and let it go. In and out. There's nowhere you need to be right now. Nothing you need to do. This moment belongs only to you. Let your shoulders soften. Feel the weight of the day beginning to lift. From your jaw, from your hands, from the space behind your eyes. With each breath, you're drifting a little further from the noise of the world. Breathe in and breathe out. Imagine for a moment that the sky above you is deep and dark and full of stars. Ancient stars, older than any map or name, quietly watching over a world that has been turning for 10,000 years. You are safe here. You are held. And tonight, you are invited to travel. Welcome to Moonlit Dynasty, a collection of ancient stories from the heart of China. Tales of gods and heroes, of love and sacrifice, of the endless turning of the seasons. Stories that have been whispered for generations, carried by the wind across mountains and rivers, from the mouths of grandmothers to the ears of sleeping children. Tonight, let one of those stories find you. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the old world carry you gently into the dark and into sleep. High above the eastern sea, where the morning mists drifted in slow, unhurried spirals, there rose a mountain so green and gentle that even the clouds paused to rest upon its shoulders. The people who lived along the distant coasts called it the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit, though few had ever seen it with their own eyes. It belonged to a world older than memory, a place where time itself seemed to breathe more slowly, in and out like a sleeping child. Bamboo grew thick along its lower slopes, swaying in conversation with the wind. Peach trees blossomed in soft pink waves each spring, and persimmons hung like little lanterns from gnarled branches in the autumn. Streams trickled down between mossy stones, and waterfalls poured silver ribbons into pools so clear that the fish seemed to swim through the sky. Birds sang from every branch, deer drank from every spring, and golden monkeys leapt from tree to tree with the easy joy of creatures who had never known fear. But of all the wonders of this mountain, none was more curious than what rested upon its very summit. There, upon the highest peak, where the air grew thin and cool and the clouds wandered close enough to touch, sat a great stone. It was not a particularly tall stone, nor a particularly wide one. It was not carved or painted or decorated in any way. It simply was, round and smooth and ancient, the color of pale jade flecked with veins of darker green, resting upon the bare summit, as though it had been placed there with great care at the beginning of the world. And perhaps it had been, for this was no ordinary stone. The old sages, in the books they had not yet written, would one day say that this stone had been forming since the first morning of creation. Heaven had warmed it with sunlight. The moon had cooled it with silver. The rains had washed it. The snows had blanketed it. The winds had whispered to it, and the stars had watched over it through countless silent nights. Season after season, century after century, age after age, the stone had drunk in the essences of sky and earth, of light and shadow, of fire and water, and wood and metal. It had grown heavy with quiet and full of patience, and rich with something that could not yet be named. For thousands upon thousands of years, the stone simply sat. It watched the bamboo grow tall and fall. It watched the rivers carve new paths through the valleys below. It watched generations of monkeys climb the slopes and chatter among themselves, never noticing the round green stone resting silent at the peak. The stone did not mind being unnoticed. The stone had nowhere it needed to go. But all things, even stones, have their season. One evening, as the sun lowered itself into the western sea and painted the clouds in shades of plum and apricot, a soft sound came from the mountaintop. It was not loud. It was no louder than the cracking of a single dry leaf underfoot. Yet, had anyone been listening, they would have heard it clearly. A small, clean, crystalline sound, the sound of something old and patient finally beginning to wake. The stone had cracked. Only a hairline fracture, no wider than a single strand of silk, ran along its smooth green surface. The wind sighed past, the clouds drifted on, and the sky deepened into evening. Far below, the monkeys curled up in their nests of leaves. The birds tucked their heads beneath their wings. The whole mountain breathed out, slow and soft, and settled into the deep blue hush of nightfall. And on the summit, the stone waited, with its single small crack catching the first cool light of the rising moon. Something was coming, something gentle, something that the world had never seen before and would never quite forget. But that is a tale for tomorrow's quiet hour. The moon rose full and white that night, climbing slowly into a sky scrubbed clean of clouds. Its silver light poured down upon the mountain of flowers and fruit, gathering in the hollows of leaves, glinting on the backs of sleeping fish, settling like a gentle blanket upon the round green stone at the summit. The crack widened. It happened so softly that even the night creatures did not look up. A second small sound, like a teacup tapped with a fingernail. A third, like the snapping of a thin reed of ice. The stone trembled, just slightly, the way a heavy lid trembles when a kettle within begins to sing. And then, with a long sigh of release, the stone opened. Out of the opening rolled something small and round and quiet. It was a monkey, a stone monkey to be precise. Though already in the cool moonlight, he was becoming less stone and more monkey with each passing breath. His fur, when it appeared, was soft and the color of warm sand. His eyes, when they opened, were dark and round and astonished. Two perfect pools that took in the moon, the mountain, and the wide, wide world all at once. He had small, clever hands and a long curling tail, and a face that seemed, even in its first moments, to be considering whether or not to smile. The stone monkey blinked once. He blinked twice. He sat up on the cool grass of the summit and looked about him. There was the moon, hanging like a pale peach in a velvet sky. There were the stars, so many of them that they seemed to be whispering to one another. There was the wind, brushing through his new fur and bringing the smell of pine and water and ripening fruit. There was the great soft hush of the sleeping mountain, breathing in and out beneath him. The stone monkey did not know any words yet, but he knew somewhere deep inside his small new heart that he was happy. He stood up on slightly wobbly legs. He stretched. He sat back down because standing had been a great effort. He stood up again, more carefully this time. And then, with the natural confidence of a creature who has never been told he cannot do something, he began to walk down the mountain. The path wound between bamboo groves that whispered overhead. Moonlight pooled in the spaces between stalks, and small, luminous moths drifted past like sleepy stars. The stone monkey patted a bamboo trunk with one curious hand. He pressed his ear against it. He nodded thoughtfully, as if the bamboo had told him something interesting. He wandered down through the orchards, where the peaches hung heavy and the air smelled of honey. He paused beside a pool, where koi drifted in slow, orange circles. And he watched them for a long while, tilting his head this way and that. He was learning the world, one small wonder at a time. At last, he came to a place where the air grew cool and wet, and a sound like steady applause filled the night. A great waterfall poured down from a cliff, silver in the moonlight, vanishing into a deep pool ringed with ferns. The stone monkey looked at the waterfall. He tilted his head. Something tugged at him. Some small, certain thought that did not yet have words. He padded forward, sniffed the spray, and then, on a quiet impulse, leapt straight through the falling water. On the other side, he found a cave. It was a beautiful cave. Smooth stone floors, a high ceiling that arched like the inside of a great bell, cool, sweet air, a little spring bubbling in one corner, and a single round opening that looked out from behind the curtain of water upon the silvered world. The stone monkey turned in a slow circle. He patted the wall. He sat down in the very center of the cave and let out a long, contented sigh. He had found home. And there, with the music of the waterfall as his lullaby and the moonlight scattering rainbows through the spray, the first child of the mountain curled up upon the cool stone floor and fell at last into a deep and peaceful sleep. Morning came to the mountain of flowers and fruit in the slow, golden way that mornings come to mountains. First, the highest peak caught the light, blushing pink against the lavender sky. Then the bamboo groves lit up one by one, their leaves turning to thin pieces of glass. The streams began to sparkle. The birds began their long, patient conversation with the dawn. And behind the curtain of the great waterfall, the stone monkey opened his eyes. He stretched. He yawned. He patted his round belly thoughtfully. And then, with the bright, cheerful curiosity of someone who has just been born and is not yet aware that the world contains anything difficult, he stepped out through the silver veil of water and into the morning. The mountain was waking. The other monkeys, for there were many monkeys upon that mountain, in clans and families and chattering troops, were leaving their nests in the trees and coming down to drink at the pools. They were brown monkeys and golden monkeys, old monkeys with silver in their fur, and tiny new monkeys clinging to their mothers' backs. They tumbled and chased and groomed each other in the soft morning light. And then they saw him, the stone monkey, fresh and bright-eyed and softly glowing, walking out from behind the waterfall as though he had been doing so all his life. The mountain monkeys froze. They stared. One very small monkey dropped the peach he had been holding, and it rolled gently down the slope. Another monkey scratched his head, looked at his neighbor, and scratched his head again, as if trying to remember whether stone monkeys appearing from behind waterfalls was a thing he was supposed to find surprising. The stone monkey, for his part, was delighted. So many faces, so many tales. He walked up to the nearest monkey, a plump old fellow with kind eyes, and patted him cheerfully on the shoulder. The old monkey, after a moment of hesitation, patted him back. This seemed to settle everything. Within an hour, the stone monkey had been welcomed into the troop. Within a day, he had made friends with every monkey on the mountain. And within a week, he had done something quite remarkable. It happened at the waterfall. The monkeys had gathered there to play in the spray, as they often did, and one of them, a young, clever fellow, had proposed a game. "Whoever can leap through the waterfall," he chattered, "and find what lies beyond, shall be our king." The other monkeys looked at the falls. They looked at the pounding water. They looked back at one another and shifted from foot to foot. No one quite wanted to be first. The stone monkey, who had been listening with great interest, stepped forward. "I will go," he said, for by now he had learned words, gathered from the chatter of the troop and the rustle of leaves and the songs of birds. "I have been there already. It is lovely." And before the others could ask what he meant, he leapt, light and quick as a thrown ribbon, straight through the silver curtain. A long pause. The monkeys held their breath. Then his small face popped back out through the water, wet and grinning. "Come and see," he called. "There is a cave. There is a spring. There is room enough for everyone." One by one, hesitating, then bolder, the monkeys leapt through. They tumbled into the cool stone hall behind the falls. They patted the smooth floors. They tasted the sweet spring water. They climbed the curving walls and shrieked with delight at the way their voices echoed. It was the most wonderful place they had ever seen. And so, by the unanimous and chattering agreement of every monkey on the mountain, the stone monkey was crowned king. They wove him a small crown of flowers. They sang him songs in their high, sweet voices. They called him, from that day forward, the handsome Monkey King, though he was really still quite small. He sat upon a flat stone in the center of the cave, his flower crown slightly crooked, his eyes bright with happiness. The waterfall sang its endless song. The monkeys laughed and tumbled around him, and the little king of the mountain felt for the first time the warm and quiet weight of belonging. The years that followed were the gentlest years the mountain of flowers and fruit had ever known. Under the easy reign of the handsome Monkey King, the troop grew prosperous and content. The peach orchards bore fruit twice each year. The streams ran clear. The cave behind the waterfall, now called Water Curtain Cave by all who lived there, became a home of laughter and warmth, full of soft beds of grass and stores of nuts and the constant pleasant hum of monkey conversation. The Monkey King himself grew into his role with the easy grace of a creature born for it. He settled disputes with a wave of his small hand and a joke that made everyone forget what they had been arguing about. He led the troop on long, rambling adventures into the bamboo forests, where they gathered shoots and sang songs, and sometimes, just for fun, climbed all the way to the summit to look at the wide blue sea below. He was beloved. He was happy. And he had no thought, in those bright, easy years, that anything could ever be otherwise. The seasons turned. Spring softened into summer. Summer ripened into autumn. Autumn whitened into winter. And then it was spring again, and again and again. And the petals fell and were replaced and fell once more. One quiet evening, when the troop had gathered in the cave for the night's feast, peaches and chestnuts and a little wine they had pressed themselves from wild grapes, the Monkey King noticed something strange. In the corner of the cave, an old monkey sat weeping. He was one of the eldest in the troop, a gentle creature with silver in his fur and a slight bend in his back. He had always been kind. He had always been calm. He had taught the younger monkeys how to find the sweetest fruit and how to weave the softest sleeping mats. And now he sat with his face in his hands, and his shoulders trembled, and small bright tears slipped down between his fingers. The Monkey King set down his cup. The cave grew quiet. One by one, the other monkeys turned to look. The king crossed the cave and crouched beside the old monkey, gently, the way one approaches a small, frightened bird. "Honored elder," he said softly, "why do you weep? We are warm. We are safe. The feast is sweet. What sorrow can have found you on such a peaceful night?" The old monkey lifted his face. His eyes were tired and full of something the king did not yet understand. "My king," he said, his voice slow and quiet, "I weep because I am old. I weep because tonight I am here, but one night soon I shall not be. We laugh and feast and play, and the mountain seems eternal, and the waterfall sings on forever. But we are not forever. There comes for every monkey a last morning, a last drink from the spring, a last warm sleep, and then we are gone, and the mountain goes on without us, and the songs are sung by other voices." He wiped his eyes with the back of his small, wrinkled hand. "Forgive me. It is only that tonight I felt it close." A great hush settled over the cave. The monkeys looked at one another. Some of the younger ones, who had never thought about such things, looked confused. Some of the older ones lowered their eyes, because they knew. The Monkey King knelt very still. He had felt in his small chest something he had never felt before, a strange, cool weight, like a stone falling slowly through still water. He looked at the old monkey. He looked at the warm, familiar faces all around him. He looked at the silver curtain of the waterfall, ageless and bright. And he thought, for the first time in his life, one day, all of this will be gone from me. That night, when the others had curled up to sleep, and the cave was full of soft breathing, the Monkey King sat alone at the cave's mouth, watching the moonlight scatter on the falling water. He did not weep. He was too thoughtful for tears. But a question had taken root in him, small and bright and impossible to set down. The waterfall murmured, the mountain breathed, and the little king, with his crown of faded flowers resting beside him, gazed out into the silver night and let the great soft question carry him slowly, slowly into sleep. The question stayed with him. Through the bright weeks that followed, the Monkey King carried it quietly inside him, the way one carries a small, smooth pebble in a pocket. Always there, always felt, even when no one was looking. He still laughed with the troop. He still led them through the orchards and into the bamboo groves. He he still sat upon his flat stone throne in the cave and dispensed gentle judgments with twinkling eyes. But in the soft hours before sleep, he found himself gazing past the waterfall, past the mountain, past the green folds of the valleys, out toward the rim of the wide blue sea. Somewhere out there, he thought, the world continued. Somewhere out there were sages and saints and teachers and immortals, beings who had walked the path beyond endings. He did not know where, he did not know how, but he could not stop wondering. At last, on a soft, warm morning, when the peach blossoms were drifting like pink snow through the air, he gathered the troop together at the mouth of the cave. "My friends," he said, "I must go away for a time." The monkeys stared. A small one whimpered. The Monkey King smiled gently and held up his small, clever hands. "Do not be sad. The mountain will still be here. The cave will still be here. You will still have one another, and the orchards, and the songs. But there is a question inside me that I cannot answer here. I must go and seek a teacher, someone who knows the secret paths of the world. When I have learned what I must learn, I shall come back, and we shall all be the better for it." The troop wept a little. They embraced him. They pressed peaches and chestnuts into his hands and wove him a small bag of woven leaves to carry his provisions. The old monkey, who had wept that long-ago night, came forward last and pressed his forehead against the king's and said nothing, because nothing needed to be said. The Monkey King walked down the mountain alone. At the seashore, he found driftwood, and with patient hands, he lashed together a small raft. He wove a little sail from broad leaves. He pushed the raft into the gentle surf, climbed aboard, and let the morning wind catch him and carry him out upon the wide blue sea. Oh, the sea! It was vaster than he had imagined. It stretched in every direction, blue upon blue, until the sky and the water blurred into a single soft horizon. By day the sun warmed his fur, and the gulls cried overhead, and small silver fish leapt from wave to wave beside the raft, as if escorting him. By night the stars wheeled slowly across the dome of the heavens, and the moon laid a long silver road upon the water, and the sea murmured beneath him, like a great patient creature, breathing in its sleep. Days passed, then weeks, then perhaps months. The Monkey King did not count. He drifted where the winds carried him, eating the fruit he had brought, drinking rainwater from a hollow stone, sleeping curled on the gentle raft under the soft black sky. He saw wonders. He saw a pod of long, pale dolphins arc through the waves at sunset. He saw a flock of cranes flying so high they were only thin white lines against the blue. He saw an island where pink trees grew straight out of the sand, and another where the rocks were shaped like sleeping turtles. He waved to fishermen in distant boats, and they waved back, too far away to wonder at the small monkey riding a raft alone across the great ocean. One bright morning, the raft drifted into a harbor. It was a small harbor town, set against a backdrop of green hills. Wooden houses with curved roofs clung to the slope. Lanterns swayed gently from eaves. The smell of cooking rice and frying ginger drifted across the water. The Monkey King tied up his raft at a quiet end of the dock and stepped, for the first time, onto a road built by human hands. He wandered through the town with wide, curious eyes. He watched merchants haggle. He watched children play with carved wooden tops. He watched an old woman feed a stray cat. He watched, and he listened, and he tried to learn how humans moved. and how they spoke. He found, after a little practice, that he could imitate their gentle bow and their soft greetings well enough not to alarm anyone. And then he heard, from somewhere far away in the green hills beyond the town, the long, slow tolling of a monastery bell. Something in his chest leaned toward the sound, as a flower leans toward the morning sun. He turned his small face toward the hills, gathered his little leaf bag, and began, with quiet certainty, to walk. The road led him out of the harbour town and up into the hills. It was a soft, winding road, lined with old stones that had been worn smooth by generations of travellers' feet. The air grew cooler as he climbed. Bamboo gave way to pine. Pine gave way to mist. The Monkey King walked with his small hands clasped behind his back, the way he had seen the thoughtful old men in the town walk, and he hummed to himself a tune that the Waterfall had taught him long ago. He met few travellers. Once a woodcutter passed him with a great bundle of branches on his shoulder, and nodded as though small monkeys with leaf bags were a common sight upon the road. Once a pair of nuns in grey robes glided past with their eyes lowered, and the Monkey King bowed politely, and they bowed back without quite seeing him. Once a single white crane stood beside a stream and watched him with one bright eye, and he watched it back, and they regarded each other for a long, peaceful moment before he walked on. The road grew steeper. The mist thickened. The sound of the harbour was long gone now, replaced by the deeper hush of high places, the soft sigh of wind in pine needles, the distant murmur of an unseen stream, the small, bright calls of mountain birds. He walked for many days. He did not mind. He had brought patience with him from his mountain, and the path itself was beautiful, full of small wonders that delighted him. A waterfall threading through black rocks, a grove of trees whose leaves were shaped like little hands, a meadow where blue flowers nodded in unison whenever the wind passed. He learned to sleep in the curve of tree roots, to drink from springs, to eat the wild berries that grew along the path. He felt, with each passing day, a little lighter and a little quieter inside himself. One evening, as the sun lowered itself behind the peaks and the sky turned the colour of ripe apricot, the Monkey King rounded a bend in the road and stopped. Before him rose a mountain unlike any he had seen. It was not the tallest mountain. It was not the widest, but it had a presence, a stillness that made the air around it seem to hum softly, as though the very rocks were thinking quiet thoughts. Its slopes were green with old forests. Its peak was crowned with cloud, and along its lower flank, half hidden among the trees, the Monkey King could just make out the curved roofs of a monastery, with a thin column of pale smoke rising from somewhere within. A woodcutter was working at the side of the road, splitting kindling with slow, practiced strokes. The Monkey King approached him politely and bowed. "Honoured sir," he said, "what is the name of this mountain?" The woodcutter paused and looked at him, not at all surprised by the small visitor. "This is the mountain of mind and heart," he said. "And up there, among the pines, is the cave temple of an old teacher. The patriarch Subodhi, he is called. Some say he has been here since the first morning of the world. Some say he knows the secret paths between heaven and earth." The Monkey King's heart leapt softly, like a small fish turning in a pool. "And does he take students?" he asked. The woodcutter smiled, almost to himself. "Sometimes, when the student is the right one. Many come, few stay. The path is long, and the teacher is patient, and patience is the hardest thing of all to learn." He returned to his kindling, as though he had said all he meant to say. The Monkey King bowed deeply and continued up the road. The path narrowed. The trees grew old and tall. The light softened to the deep golden glow that comes only in the last quiet hour before dusk. He heard, somewhere ahead, the sound of a stream, and the soft sound of someone sweeping, and the slow tolling of a bell. At last, he came to a clearing, and there it stood, a small, ancient monastery of weathered wood, its curved eaves draped with moss, its gates standing slightly ajar, as though it had been expecting him for a very long time. The Monkey King stood at the threshold. He set down his small leaf bag. He drew in a long, quiet breath of the cool mountain air, and then, very carefully, the way one might step into the warm hush of a temple at midnight, he walked through the gate. Inside, the courtyard was raked smooth. A peach tree stood in one corner. A small bell hung from a beam. And somewhere, beyond an inner doorway, a soft voice was speaking, slowly and gently, to no one the Monkey King could yet see. He folded his small hands. He sat down upon the swept stones of the courtyard, and he waited. The patriarch Subodhi was older than mountains and gentler than rain. When at last he came out into the courtyard, walking with a slow, easy step that did not seem to disturb the air, the Monkey King looked up and found himself gazing into a face so calm and so kind that it was like looking into a clear, deep pool. The patriarch's robes were the color of soft mist. His beard was long and white. His eyes were small and bright and full of a quiet humor, as though he had been telling himself a private joke for several centuries and was still amused by it. The Monkey King bowed all the way to the ground. "Honored teacher," he said, "I have come from a far mountain across the sea. I have a question I cannot answer alone. I have heard that you know the secret paths between heaven and earth. I beg you, let me be your student. Let me sweep your floors and chop your wood. Let me learn whatever you will teach." The patriarch looked at him for a long moment, the way one might look at a small, bright stone found unexpectedly on a familiar path. Then, very slowly, he smiled. "What is your name, little one?" The Monkey King paused. He had been called the handsome Monkey King by his troop, but it seemed suddenly too grand a name for this quiet courtyard. The patriarch's smile deepened. "Then I shall give you a name," he said. "I shall call you Sun Wukong, Sun, the family name of monkeys, and Wukong, which means awakened to emptiness. For you have come a long way to begin a long journey, and you do not yet know how far it is." The Monkey King, Sun Wukong now, bowed again, and felt the name settle on him like a soft, warm robe. And so his studies began. But they did not begin with secret paths. They did not begin with sacred words or hidden powers. They began, that very first morning, with a broom. The patriarch handed him a small bamboo broom. He showed him, with 2 quiet sweeps, how to use it. And then he turned and walked away, and left Sun Wukong alone in the courtyard with the leaves. Sun Wukong swept. He swept the whole courtyard that first day. he swept the stones smooth and clean. And the next morning, the leaves had fallen again, and he swept once more. And the morning after that, and the morning after that. He learned to chop wood. He learned to draw water from the deep, cool well behind the monastery. He learned to wash the rice and tend the small vegetable garden and feed the temple cat, who was old and grey and slept most of the day in a patch of sun. He learned the names of the other students. There were a dozen of them, quiet young men in grey robes who came and went on their own studies. And he learned to bow to them and to share the long, silent meals at the wooden tables. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Months became years. Sun Wukong, who had once been so restless that he could not sit still through a single moon, found himself growing quieter. He noticed things he had never noticed before. The way the morning light moved across the swept stones. The way the temple bell rang differently in different weather. The way the peach tree in the courtyard sometimes seemed to be listening. He found that sweeping, when done slowly and with attention, was not boring at all. It was a kind of conversation between his hands and the earth. He sat in the evening lessons, where the patriarch taught broad and gentle things, about the nature of breath, about the patience of stones, about the way that water always finds its level. He listened. He did not understand half of what he heard, but the half he did not understand seemed to settle somewhere inside him anyway, like seeds resting in good soil. 7 years passed in this way. 7 years of sweeping and chopping and listening and sitting. 7 years of slow, quiet attention. The young monkey who had landed at the gate had been bright and clever and quick. The young monkey who now moved through the courtyard was still bright and still clever, but he had grown too, in some quieter way, the way a mountain grows slowly, without seeming to grow at all. And one evening, as Sun Wukong sat in the back of the lecture hall with his small hands folded, the patriarch's gaze drifted across the gathered students and came to rest upon him. The old eyes were warm, the old smile was small, and the patriarch, very gently, gave him the smallest nod, a nod that meant, "It is time." Sun Wukong's heart leapt softly. He bowed his head. He waited for the lecture to end, and when the others had gone to their beds, and the moon had risen over the eaves, and the courtyard lay silver and still, he made his way on small, quiet feet to the door of the patriarch's inner room. The patriarch was waiting. His inner room was small and simple, lit by a single oil lamp that cast a soft golden circle on the wooden floor. There was a low table. There was a cushion. There was a scroll open across the table, though it was too dim for Sun Wukong to read what was written there. The patriarch sat cross-legged, with his hands resting easily on his knees, and his small, bright eyes followed Sun Wukong as he came in and knelt before him. "Little awakened one," said the patriarch softly, "for 7 years you have swept my floors. You have not complained. You have not asked. You have only waited and watched and learned. Tell me, what have you learned?" Sun Wukong thought for a long moment. "I have learned," he said slowly, "that the leaves fall every morning, and the courtyard must be swept every morning. And this is not a sorrow, but a kindness, because it gives the day something gentle to begin with. The patriarch's eyes crinkled. "I have learned," Sun Wukong went on, "that the well is deep, and the water at the bottom is always cool, and that one cannot rush a bucket up a rope. I have learned that the cat sleeps where the sun moves, and that the bell sounds clearer on damp mornings, and that rice tastes best when one is hungry. And what have you learned of yourself?" Sun Wukong was quiet for a longer moment. "I have learned," he said at last, "that I am still a small monkey from a small mountain, and I have learned that this is enough." The patriarch laughed, a soft, warm laugh, like the laugh of a stream finding a new path. "Then you are ready," he said. "Come closer." For the long, quiet hours of that night, and for many quiet nights to follow, the patriarch taught Sun Wukong the secret arts. He taught him first the slow art of breath, how to breathe so quietly that even the candle flame would not flicker, how to gather the breath in the soft place below the navel, where the body keeps its quiet warmth, how to feel the breath move through the limbs like a slow tide, washing each finger and toe with light. He taught him the art of seeing, how to look at a leaf until one truly saw it, the veins, the curl, the small green life of it, how to look at the world without the busy noise of one's own thoughts crowding in front of it. And then, when these gentle foundations were laid, he taught him the great transformations. There were 72 of them. He taught Sun Wukong how to become a bird, light enough to balance on a single grass stem, how to become a fish, slipping through cool currents with a flick of silver, how to become a fly, a small black speck riding the breeze, how to become a tiger, a tree, a stone, a wisp of smoke. He taught him how to become very large, large enough to stand among the clouds, and how to become very small, small enough to hide inside a single grain of rice. Sun Wukong watched all of this with eyes that grew wider and softer, like a child who has been allowed, just once, to hold the moon in his palm. The patriarch spoke each technique slowly, his voice no louder than the breath of a sleeping cat, and the lamp between them burned so low it seemed to be listening too. He taught the monkey how to slip into the body of a sparrow, how to wear the shape of a fish gliding beneath river stones, how to become a pine tree on a windless ridge, how to step into the form of a young scholar walking a country road. Each transformation was a door, and behind each door waited another door, and behind that another, until the corridors of possibility stretched farther than any traveler could walk in a single life. When at last the patriarch fell silent, the night outside the window had turned that deep, soft blue that comes only in the hour before dawn. Sun Wukong sat very still. He felt as though his heart had been filled to the brim with quiet water, and he was afraid that if he moved, even a drop might spill. He bowed low until his forehead touched the cool stone of the floor, and he stayed there a long time, listening to his own breathing and the slow drip of wax. The patriarch placed one weightless hand upon his head, as a grandfather might bless a sleeping grandson, and then drew the hand away. Outside, a single bird tried out a single note, then thought better of it, and the silence returned, deeper than before, like a dark lake at rest beneath 1,000 stars. Morning came to the mountain in its usual gentle way, mist rising off the bamboo, and a few yellow leaves drifting down to settle on the stones of the courtyard. Sun Wukong, who had slept perhaps an hour, perhaps none at all, rose with a lightness in his bones that he had never known before. The world looked the same, the broom leaning by the door, the kettle steaming on its small fire, the other disciples yawning their way to morning lessons. And yet everything in him hummed like a struck bell. That afternoon, the patriarch gathered the disciples in the open court beneath the great plum tree and spoke to them of cloud travel. He explained how a cultivator, by gathering the breath of heaven beneath the soles of the feet, might rise into the air and ride upon a cloud as a fisherman rides a small boat. He demonstrated, lifting himself a foot or two off the ground, drifting in a slow circle, settling back down with the softness of a falling petal. The disciples murmured in admiration. One by one they tried, and one by one they hopped and stumbled and laughed at themselves, raising small puffs of dust that no cloud would claim. When it was Sun Wukong's turn, he closed his eyes. He remembered what the patriarch had whispered to him in the deep of the night, that for him, with his strange light body and his wild born of stone heart, the cloud would come differently. He pressed his palms together. He gave one small leap, really no more than a hop, and a cloud, white and bright as a fresh snowfall, rolled up beneath his feet to catch him. Then it carried him. It carried him so fast that the courtyard fell away like a coin dropped into a well. He saw the green spine of the mountain race beneath him, then the silver thread of a river, then the patchwork of distant rice fields, then the long blue back of the sea. In the time it took the other disciples to draw a single breath of surprise, he had crossed 108,000 li, touched the far edge of the sky, and come spiraling back to land lightly on the same stone where he had begun. The disciples stared. Then they shouted. They clapped their hands and pulled at his sleeves and begged him to show them again. And Sun Wukong, who had never in his life been praised for anything but mischief, felt his chest swell warm and bright. He leapt again. He flew up to the plum tree and pretended to pick a star. He stood on the cloud and bowed in every direction like an actor on a stage. And the disciples roared with delight. And the courtyard rang with laughter that even the kitchen cooks came out to hear. Up on the high balcony, the patriarch watched and did not laugh. His old face grew very still. He saw what others did not see, that such a display in such a world was a lantern lit in a forest of dry leaves. That night, he summoned Sun Wukong alone. His voice was kind, but it carried the weight of a final word. "You must go," he said. "You have learned what I can teach. Take it home with you. And my child, listen. Never, in any age, in any company, in any moment of pride, speak my name as your teacher. Promise me this." Sun Wukong, suddenly cold, suddenly grown up, promised. The patriarch nodded once. The lamp flickered. The mountain seemed to sigh in its sleep. He left at dawn, with nothing in his hands and nothing on his back, for what he carried now could not be wrapped in cloth or tied with string. He bowed at the gate of the cave temple until his forehead touched the dust, and then he leapt onto the cloud, and the cloud took him east, over the patient green hills and over the cities where smoke rose from 1,000 morning kitchens, and over the wide sea that he had once crossed on a raft of his own clumsy making. The sea was calmer this time, or perhaps he simply rode above it now, watching the long combs of foam smooth out behind passing ships. Gulls turned in slow wheels below him. The sun warmed his fur. He thought, as travelers think, of all the small things of home. The particular taste of the spring water on his mountain, the cool hollow of his favorite sleeping stone, the chatter of his troop at evening when the fireflies began to rise. He had been gone a very long time. He did not know yet how long. The mountain of flowers and fruit rose out of the haze ahead of him, and at the sight of it, his throat tightened in a way that surprised him. But as he came nearer, his heart, so warm a moment ago, went suddenly cold. The slopes that had once been bright with peaches and pears looked thin and trampled. No monkeys leapt in the high branches. No songs floated up from the waterfall. A wrongness lay over everything, like a film of ash on a clear pond. He landed in the empty meadow before his cave and called out. After a long silence, the old monkeys came creeping from the brush, gaunt, watchful, their eyes brimming. They told him, falling over their own words, of a demon king from a neighboring peak who had come in his absence, a creature of black bristles and brass tusks called the Demon of Confusion, who had stolen the young ones away to labor in his caves, who had broken their peaches and fouled their streams, who took whatever he pleased, because there was none to stop him. Sun Wukong listened. His hands did not shake. When the old monkeys had finished, he simply rose and stepped onto his cloud. He found the demon's mountain across a narrow valley, found the demon himself swaggering at his gate, and what followed was brief and almost gentle, the way a windstorm is gentle to a single leaf. He grew tall. He grew small. He multiplied himself into 100 small monkeys that swarmed and tugged and stung. He took the demon's own great blade from the demon's own hand and broke it across his knee. And the demon, seeing at last what he faced, fell to his belly and begged. Sun Wukong sent him running into the far hills with a thump and a warning, and he opened the cave doors, and the young ones came pouring out, blinking into the light. And the homecoming was such that the mountain itself seemed to laugh. That night, after the feasting, after the stories had been told and told again, and the youngest of the troop had finally fallen asleep, curled against his side, Sun Wukong sat alone on the highest rock and looked out at the dark sea. He should have been happy. He was happy, and yet beneath the happiness, like a thin, cold current beneath warm water, ran a quieter thing he could not name. He had gone away, and he had come back, and the place was the same, and not the same, and he was the same, and not the same. He had learned how to leap 108,000 li in a single breath, but he had not learned how to leap over the one thing that waited for every living creature at the end of every road: mortality. The word came to him without being spoken, and he sat with it a long time, while the stars wheeled their patient wheel above him, and the sea breathed in, and breathed out, and breathed in again. In the days that followed, Sun Wukong grew restless in a way his troop had not seen before. He paced the cliffs at sunrise. He stared into the surf. The old monkeys watched him with the patient eyes of those who have watched many young ones grow into their fates, and they said nothing. For they understood that there are seasons of the heart that must be allowed to turn in their own time. At last, he called them to him and spoke plainly. "I am the strongest creature on this mountain," he said, "and I have no weapon worthy of my hand. A king should have a staff. A warrior should have a blade. I have heard it said that beneath the eastern sea lies the palace of the Dragon King, where every treasure of the deep is gathered. I will go down and ask him for a gift." The old monkeys nodded slowly, for they had learned long ago that one does not argue with a heart that has already begun its journey. So Sun Wukong walked to the shore, and he spoke a small charm the patriarch had taught him for parting waters. And the sea opened a green corridor before him, as politely as a servant opening a door. Down he went, and down past schools of silver fish that turned to watch him pass, past forests of swaying weed, past the slow shadows of great patient creatures whose names no surface language knew. The light dimmed to a soft greenish dusk, and then he saw it, the palace of the Dragon King, with its tiled roofs of mother of pearl, its courtyards paved in coral, its lanterns of luminous jellyfish drifting at every gate. The Dragon King received him with the careful courtesy that immortals reserve for visitors whose business they do not yet understand. He was an old serpent of jade green and silver, with whiskers like wisps of cloud, and he listened politely to Sun Wukong's request, and then clapped his clawed hands. Servants brought out a spear of polished bronze. Sun Wukong lifted it, turned it in his palm, sighed. "Too light," he said apologetically. They brought a great trident, taller than 3 men. "Too light." They brought a halberd inlaid with abalone shell, a sword of cold sea iron, a war axe whose blade hummed when it touched the air. Too light, too light, too light. The Dragon King's whiskers trembled, for he was running out of treasures, and behind a curtain, his wife whispered to him, "There is one thing more, the old pillar in the deepest vault." The Dragon King hesitated, then sighed, and led his guest down a long stair, and another, into a chamber so deep that the water itself seemed to grow still and listening. There, in the middle of the chamber, stood an iron column, black and plain, and taller than a tall tower. It had stood there since the days when the great Yu had used it to measure the depth of every ocean and tame the floods of the early world. No one had touched it in 1,000 years. As Sun Wukong walked toward it, the iron began, very softly, to glow, a warm red-gold light like the first ember in a long, cold hearth. He laid his hand upon it, and it brightened, and it pulsed, and he felt through his palm that the pillar knew him. "Could you be a little smaller?" He asked it kindly, as one might ask a sleeping cat to make room on the bed. The pillar shrank. A little smaller still. It shrank again, until it was the size of a fine staff, an arm's length, an inch around, bound at each end with golden rings. He swung it once. The water parted in a long, clean arc. He laughed aloud, a laugh of pure delight, and asked it, very politely, to become as small as a sewing needle. It did. He tucked it behind his ear, bowed to the astonished Dragon King, and rose back through the green corridors toward the upper world, where the sun was just beginning to set the sea on fire. He returned to his mountain in the gold of evening, and the troop met him at the shore with cries of joy. He showed them the needle behind his ear, and at his word it grew into a staff that could brace the sky, and at his word it shrank again to nothing. And the small monkeys squealed and clapped their hands and begged him to do it once more. And he did, again and again, laughing with them until his sides ached. In the days that followed, he trained them. Not because they needed an army. The demon was gone, and the mountain was safe. But because joy needs somewhere to put itself, and his joy in those bright weeks was a wide and overflowing thing. He showed the younger ones how to wield bamboo poles in mock battle. He taught the older ones to keep watch from the high rocks. He himself would leap from peak to peak at sunrise, the staff humming faintly behind his ear, his shadow flickering huge across the morning mists. The mountain rang with their games. The peaches ripened. The streams ran clear. For a season, for one long and golden season, the mountain of flowers and fruit was the happiest place beneath heaven. But heaven, as the old stories know, keeps its own ledgers. And no joy on earth is permitted to forget this forever. It came to him in a dream. He had fallen asleep in the soft grass beneath his favorite tree, with the troop dozing around him, and the moon riding high. In the dream, he found himself walking down a road he did not remember entering. The road was grey, the sky was grey, and a cold, thin wind moved across it that did not stir his fur. Two figures stood waiting for him. One robed all in white, one robed all in black, both very tall, both very polite. They bowed. They showed him a piece of paper with a name written on it. The name was his own. "It is your time," they said, not unkindly. "Come with us." And they took him by the wrists, and they led him down and down into a dark place where a great hall stood. And in the hall was a book, and in the book was every name of every living creature. And beside many of the names were small black marks, and one of the small black marks was for him. He woke with a cry. The moon was still high. The troop was still sleeping. His heart was beating hard, and his hands, when he held them up before his face, were shaking. He sat up in the grass and let the night air cool him. The dream had not been a dream only. He understood this with the strange certainty that comes in the small hours. It had been a warning, or a promise, or a glimpse through a door that was already opening. He had learned to leap 108,000 li. He had learned to wear the shape of any creature. He had a staff that could measure the sea. And still, his name was written in that quiet book. And someday, perhaps soon, perhaps far off, the two polite figures would come for him in waking life as they had come for him in sleep. Something hardened in him then. Not anger, something cleaner than anger. A resolve. He would not go. He would climb to heaven itself if he had to. He would find the keeper of the book, and he would ask, and if asking did not serve, he would demand that his name be struck from the ledger. Let the mountain stand forever. Let his troop laugh forever in the sun. Let him, the stone-born one, the cloud rider, the holder of the iron pillar, let him belong to no one's accounting but his own. He lay back in the grass. The stars above him were very far and very bright and very cold, and yet they seemed, in that moment, to be listening. The wind moved softly through the leaves. One of the small monkeys, in its sleep, shifted closer to his side, and he laid one gentle hand on its small, warm back. The night was wide. The story was only beginning, and somewhere far off, in the high halls of heaven, in the deep halls beneath the earth, in the quiet pages of an old, old book, somewhere, something turned its head and noticed him. Sleep came. The stars burned on.